There it is. All right. This meeting is being recorded. And there's just a few things I wanted to discuss today. And all of these things that I will mention today are the build up, to our first, I know we've written the summary response essays, but this is we're approaching our first, multi-draft essay. And as I said, in the beginning of the semester when I was covering the syllabus, every piece of or every multi-draft essay we do this semester will have just some pre-writing activity to accompany it. So that's what we're going to get started on today, our pre-writing for our first essay. Okay, pre-writing for our first essay. First essay, the first multi-draft essay, I should say. Again, with any essay, it's like we were talking about last week, during the drafting process. Get your ideas out, try to get that first draft as organized as you can, but also just be mindful that, first draft is a first draft, right? First draft is the first draft, and you will get feedback from me, and, you'll be able to revise. All right. Oh, yes. The first summary response essays have been uploaded. If you don't know how to access yours, once we end this call today, I will when I do my update to D2L, I will post a video of how to get back to your own work. Right now, in that assignment folder, there's your original that you submitted, and then there's another draft with my feedback on there. All right. So if you don't know how to get back to yours, I will just post a video to show you all how to get it. And that's how I'll be giving your stuff back this semester, just putting it right back in the same assignment folder that you all have been using. All right. And then summary response essay numero dos, right? Due today. Due 9 minutes ago. Okay. But if you haven't gotten it in, make sure you get that in ASAP. All right. And today it's going to be a continuation of like these foundational talks about writing. We began with critical thinking, and we transitioned into the writing process. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about paragraphing, because we're approaching the stage of the class where, again, even though we've already written 2 summary response essays, the essays that we're going to write from here on out, just have to be a little bit more tight as far as the paragraphs are concerned. Not to say that we weren't doing that before, but now we're paying special attention to really giving our reader digestible chunks of whatever we're presenting to them, and that's really what a paragraph is. It's just a digestible chunk of information.
So can I ask a quick question on that subject?
You just did. Now go ahead.
All right. Bye. Have a nice day. No. So in both of the articles we read, and in a lot of things I actually read that are more short and bite-sized, the paragraphs are 2 or 3 sentences.
Yes.
But going all the way back to remembering when I was taught how to first write a paragraph and all the way through high school, it was always 4 to 6 sentences for a paragraph.
Absolutely.
So, like, what's right?
That's a good question. All right. I think the first thing we can do is sort of like liberate ourselves from these rules that we learned in the past: 5 to 7, 4 to 6, 3 to 5. And we should start thinking of paragraphs in terms of their characteristics: unity, coherence, and development. All right. Unity, just means centered around one idea. Coherence, it flows together, and there's a strong connection between your ideas. And development just answers that question: what does my reader need to know? All right. And then to answer your question, Matthew, sometimes there are, shorter transitional paragraphs. All right, where it's just a couple sentences, sort of like to prep you to go from one idea to another. And then just another thing about that, Matthew, sometimes when we read things in publications, there's a certain license, that writers are able to take. And even with us, the more we learn about writing, the more we can bend the rules, just a little bit. It's kind of like riding a bike. When you're taught to ride the bike, you got both hands on the handlebars. I was about to say steering wheel. You got both hands on the handlebars. You're doing everything perfectly. But once you're comfortable with that, you can ride with one hand, take your hands off the wheel. So English 1510 and probably 1520, we learn how to do things by the book. But once you have a good handle on that, you can bend the rules just a little bit, as long as what you're saying, doesn't get lost in the bending of the rules. All right. But again, just to reiterate, in 1510, I don't mind, everyone trying to spread their wings a bit, but I think the first thing we have to do is we have to establish our foundation
All right.
before we start writing with no hands.
Just expect slightly longer, more blocky paragraphs from me is one, that's my style, and two, that's a bit more common for history, which is why it's my style.
I was just going to say,
how I've been writing for years now.
Yeah, really both of those things. One, I get that, as a history major, and it's the same with me as an English major, because Matthew, you and I, and I guess other folks in humanities and even some social sciences in histories, part of our job as writers is to explain. All right, and sometimes that can get kind of lengthy, and for you, the advice I would give, if you feel a paragraph is going too long, think about when you want your reader to stop and reflect on what you just said. Meaning, give them a moment to take a breath and sort of digest, what you just told them, and then, start a new paragraph. All right. But another thing I was going to say, Matthew, to that is I'm glad, that you have your own style, and that's really a goal that I want us all to set for ourselves. Develop your own writing style, because once we get a couple papers in, I do want to pick up a paper and say, this could not have come from anyone except this person that wrote it. So yeah, develop your own style. Absolutely. Okay. Develop your own style. Absolutely. And that's the thing about writing. Sometimes the rules can seem kind of arbitrary, but once we have a good grasp of the rules, we can break them. An example, I was always told, never begin a sentence with "and," but I see it all the time, and it makes sense. It makes sense. So, but for us in this class, let's not begin our sentences with "and," all right? Or "which," unless it's a question. All right. And that kind of, even before, I'm going to continue this discussion. Okay. I'm going to continue this discussion about paragraphing in a minute, but there's just one quick thing that I wanted to cover before we get into that. All right. And I'm just on our D2L page and going into content. Okay. I got two D2Ls open.
If you put a comment after which, can you still use it as
No, don't start a sentence with "which" unless it's a question. Okay. Right? Because I hear sentences like this all the time. All right. MacBooks are on sale for $899, period, which is still too expensive for me. Right?
Right.
So,
that's a comma.
Say what? Yes, you need a comma there,
there,
but sometimes the student will put a period there and make the sentence like "which is too expensive." They will make that into a sentence, which gives you a fragment. So just a good rule to remember, unless it's a question, if you begin a sentence with "which," it is going to be a fragment.
Okay.
Can I ask a really sarcastic question?
Yes.
What if we use the form of "which" that is normally associated with cackling green ladies? Can we start a sentence with that?
Well, you could say "witches," I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, because that's a noun. All right, so no, that's cool. Especially since we're approaching Halloween, so it fits. Is Halloween canceled this year because of COVID? I don't know. All right.
I think what's going to happen for Halloween this year is what everybody wished would always happen, which is their parents are just going to go to the grocery store, buy them a big bag of candy. They'll have to share the big bag with anybody.
Leave it out. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. All right. Hopefully it's not
They better
canceled.
not cancel Halloween.
Okay. All right. So well, you never know. You never know. All right. Socially distanced Halloween. All right. But before we get into a heavier discussion about paragraphing, I just wanted to show you a couple quick things in this module on D2L, this grammar corner and error proofing resources. Periodically, I will add things to this, but don't forget about this resource. Along with your textbook, this will go over just some of the more, I guess, grammatical things that we won't get that heavily into in this class. All right. So this blue book of grammar and punctuation, it's a website, but it's also it has a link to like an ebook that's free. And it's a good resource. Grammarly, we went over that. It's just a website. You can go in and make an account, a free account, of course, which is always what I do. All right, and then I'm just gonna skip to the bottom here. This is actually, I was making sure I was in the right class. This is actually one of my favorite resources, Grammar Girl. Grammar Girl, quick and dirty tips. All right, man, I know that title sounds kind of racy a little bit, but all right, Grammar Girl, quick and dirty tips, and I like it because it's really just short lessons. All right, so if you click it, I already clicked it, so I'm just gonna go right to it. Oh, I'm not. What? So nobody's gonna tell me that I wasn't sharing my screen with you. Come on, man, I'm getting older. I have to be reminded of these things. There we go. Okay. That's much better, right? Can you all see Grammar Girl? Yes? No? Maybe so?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You can just nod or you can shout it out. But this is Grammar Girl or the Grammar Girl. All right. So, and I like this one because it's searchable. So if you go up here to the little search area, and man, I'm really having a hard time with fragments, right? So you just search that and nothing happens. No. You search that. And you wait for your slow computer.
I've been
should go
really
much
good
faster.
on that fragments on inquisitive, but when I write my essay, I would come across maybe one or two of them.
Okay. It's just it's learning, Shamika. And then if you're writing, just try to have fewer with everything that you write. Right. So if you have two or three, in one draft, try to minimize that, in your next draft. So it's really
How can
just
we avoid the Torrento or whatever,
say it again, Walter.
Huh?
Say it again.
How can we avoid that when writing? And you know how you quote, and you're supposed to give the people the credits.
Yes.
How can we avoid not doing so much of it?
What do you mean? Like
Like
not quoting as much?
yeah, not quoting as much because those percentages goes up to a certain amount, and that means
Yes.
that yeah.
Yeah. So I think the majority of anything we write should be our own words. And and this is something actually when we start, writing our multi-draft essays. I'm glad you brought that up, Walter. Your Turnitin percentage. All right.
Yes.
That should not get over 15%. And if it's over 15%, you need to go back through your essay and either you're over quoting and you need to put things in your own words, or you may have a good amount of quotes, but it's just that you need to add more of your own original content, around the quotes. And it's even with some of the first summary response essays that I returned, some of them did, rely too heavily on quoting. All right. And then just remember, quotes and things you bring in from outside sources, they're for support. They're to support points that you make. Right.
What
So
about quoting inside the paragraph that you sent us?
say
That
it
counts
again.
too? What about the paragraph of the book that you gave us? So if we quote anything out of that counts too?
What book?
I mean, not the book, but the paragraph of the essay, the
Yeah,
response
you
essay.
can quote it, but it's just that you have to put it in quotation marks and use a citation. But Walter, don't, and this is Walter and others, don't fall into the trap of like over quoting. Where like when you look at a paragraph and the majority of the paragraph is quotes instead of your own original content.
Can you mix it up?
Say what? You can mix it up, but in whatever you write, your voice should always be the dominant voice.
Okay.
Can I say something?
How many quotes do you think would be the maximum we should use?
As many as you need.
Well, can I say something real quick?
Yep.
So the rule of thumb my history teacher taught me, because, you know, quotes happen a lot when you're writing a history paper, is no more than one quote per paragraph. And if you're using a quote in that paragraph, the paragraph should go to explain, the rest of the paragraph should go to explaining your thoughts on said quote.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing we talked about. And I know a couple of you folks have me for 1060, but it's, you know, it's the pie paragraph: point, information, explanation. Right? So if you are, and that's a great way to put it too, Matthew, like one quote per paragraph is usually enough. Like two short ones at most, but one is usually enough, because again, you want your voice to be, you don't want your voice to be drowned out, you know, by your sources. All right. And then Shamika, to answer your question, like how many quotes, don't approach it with like a set number. Approach it with, you know, I need to prove this point. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't say, well, because when we do a research project, I will give you a minimum amount of sources to use, but you know, whatever the amount is really up to you, Shamika, and others, and it's really whatever you need, you know, to get your point across. But I think when I say whatever you need, we have to balance that with, you know, there is this danger of like over quoting, and you don't want, like I was saying before, you don't want the amount of quotes that you use in a paper to drown out your points, because at some point your reader's going to say, well, you know, I can just go to this source instead of, you know, reading this paper, right? So, and I have you all's assignment folders configured to where you can see your turn it in percentage. So try to get that really an ideal number for research papers or papers requiring outside sources is between 10 to 15%. All right. 20 is pushing it. So try to stay, but if you go beyond 20, you need to do some revisions. Okay. All right. So try to get that down to about 10 to 15%. All right. And if you're struggling with getting it down, so maybe it's a bit high, you know, on your first draft, then that's just a discussion we'll have, you know, as you revise, you know, how to get your turn it in percentage down.
Okay.
All right. But again, always let your voice dominate, because your reader, when they see your name on your paper, they want to hear what you have to say about whatever you're writing. So don't overquote your paper. All right. But we'll talk a lot more about that when we talk about like research, and then just establishing that balance of your own voice versus outside sources, because outside sources can go a long way in helping you establish a point, but don't rely on them to, I guess, make the points for you. Use them to support points that you're making. Okay. Meaning like, here's this point I'm making. Now I'm going to reference this study that reinforces this point, but the remainder of the paragraph is just going to be me, you know, explaining the point to my audience.
Mr. Norwood?
Yep.
Well said.
So our first summer response paper that I submitted and you gave me feedback on.
Yeah.
You told me to like stop avoiding second person point of view.
Yeah.
Like using your like, what words can I like substitute with?
Yeah. Hold that thought, Matt, because that's actually where I'm going next.
Okay.
All right. So just to close out Grammar Girl, sentence fragments, you click on it and there's a write-up, but there's usually something you can listen to. So if you're like learning styles is not really a thing, but this one, you know, if you prefer, you know, to listen, there's that option. Or if you prefer to read, there's that option. All right. We get sold that Kool-Aid about learning styles, man. All right. Now, Matt. Okay. Here's
Yes.
some okay. Here's some
Sorry, force the habit.
documentation about points of view. Now here's the thing in academic writing. All right. First person point of view, we hear pronouns like I, me, we, us, our. Unless your teacher gives you the go ahead to use first person point of view, it's typically avoided in academic writing. I, me, we, us, our. All right. Again, sometimes your instructors will say, hey, first person is acceptable for this assignment. That's fine. Like the assignment we are going to do, like our first multi-draft essay, first person point of view is fine in that essay. All right. But the ones after, not cool. Okay. Second person point of view, though, is never used in academic. I'm not going to say never, but 99% of the time it's avoided. All right. And there's a couple reasons. One, the main reason, it just assumes a relationship with your reader that you may not have. All right. So it's been deemed a little bit informal. All right. So there's two documents, supporting documents about that in our grammar corner. One is point of view in academic writing. And really this one just gives you an explanation of all points of view, first, second, third. But this one, how to avoid, okay? And here's the thing about second person point of view. Sometimes it just flows so naturally because that's how we speak, right? And if it's kind of hard to, I guess, shut that off, as we're writing, if it feels so natural to us. All right. But all right, we do have to put that in our practice, or we do have to be mindful of avoiding the second person points of view. So I won't go over the explanation of it. You can read that for yourselves on here. But Matt and others, here's just some ways, to avoid second person point of view. Okay. A lot of times, I this is the most common error I see. All right. When we say you, a lot of times we are actually referring to a specific group. All right. So if we say, you should always be careful when you address your appearance. All right. We can, instead of saying you, we can just say children. All right. So sometimes when we say you, we're referring to a specific group. Sometimes we can just be general and say people. We can say one. We can say individuals. Sometimes we can restructure the sentence. All right. So we take out second person points of view, second person point of view. But there's different strategies. So Matt and others, make sure you all check out this document or both of these documents in the grammar corner, because they will give you some strategies to avoid second person points of view. And some words you can use in place of you, your, and you are. All right. Now, if second person point of view is inside of a quote, is fine. Always quote exactly how it appears.
Well, that answers the question I was just about to ask.
Say what?
That answers the question I was just about to ask. I was going to say, what if you find a second or a first person thing that you want to quote?
Yes, that's fine. Always quote it exactly how it is. All right. Always quote exactly how it is. Okay. All right. So
Can we replace the word you with we?
if
Is
you're
that
allowed
still
to use
second
first
person
person point of view, but if you're not, if your teacher's not okay with you using first person, then you're gonna have to switch it up, Shamika.
Sorry.
All right. So have a look at these. Okay. There's this one, how to avoid second person points of view, or second person point of view. And then there's the other one with just an explanation of point of view, first, second, third. Okay. Now, all right, I want to change gears just a little bit. Okay. All right. So yeah, my people, look in this grammar corner. There's a lot of useful things in there. All right. But now I want to change gears just a little bit and go in our textbook. All right. You can break yours out, or you can follow along with my screen. I'm gonna have to swap computers. I've been trying to avoid using this other computer I have, but I think this one's not strong enough to handle all I needed to do. All right, so let's get in our books and let's look at developing paragraphs. Okay, and just to revisit, the way this discussion began. I'm sure at some point in our academic careers, we've all heard, right, how long a paragraph should be, right? 5 to 7 sentences, 3 to 5, 4 to 6. All right. And, technically all of those are right. All right. Technically all of those are right. But at the same time, you shouldn't feel beholden. Like once you get to 6 sentences, okay, now I got to stop. All right. Or, I need to get to 5 sentences for this paragraph. Okay. Again, just start thinking of your paragraphs in terms of their qualities. Okay. Unity, coherence, and development. All right. Now, before we go into this discussion, there are 2 types of 3 types of paragraphs that can break those rules a little bit. Intros, your introduction paragraph, because you aren't going to have a topic sentence in your intro. All right, and supporting details and things like that. So you can kind of break the rules a little bit, and then the same thing with your conclusion. You're just wrapping up, so you can break the rules a little. You can break the rules a little bit. Thing about introductions, you don't want to have one that's too long though. Okay, you don't want to have an introduction that takes up, the entire first page of your essay. All right, and then conclusions. Just wrap it up. Wrap it up without presenting any new content. And then sometimes, I think Matthew brought this up earlier, sometimes you will have like shorter transitional paragraphs, but if you're writing a longer piece, you may have one of those, or if you're writing something for publication, you may have like shorter, or short transitional paragraphs sprinkled throughout your paper. But for the most part, like with body paragraphs, unity, coherence, and development. Okay. Unity just means one idea per paragraph, right? One idea per paragraph. Meaning, let's say, I don't know how they do this these days, but they still don't teach like finance and personal finance is not required in high school, right? Like they don't make you take a personal finance class, right?
I had to take
Yes, I
economics,
did.
about half of which was dedicated to personal finance.
Oh, nice.
I took personal finance.
Nice. Okay. So should be, in my view, like if I'm putting a paper together, should be mandated across the board. Like you should not be able to get out of high school without some kind of financial education. Why? Because you need it. Okay, because you need it. So now, if we're thinking like, well, why? Okay, why should personal finance if we're making this argument? So now we can break that down. One, people need to learn about credit, and the younger the better. Okay, people need to learn to manage money, right, and so on and so forth. But if we're putting this paper together, we're going to have a paragraph just about why it's important to learn about credit. And we're only going to talk about that specific idea in that paragraph, right? So when we go to a new paragraph, or excuse me, when we want to start discussing a new idea, like, long-term money management, that will be in a new paragraph. Okay. Managing your money or budgeting your money day to day, that would be in a new paragraph. So
That goes in the body, right?
yes, all these are in your body paragraphs. Absolutely, Shamika. So it's just when you're putting your paragraphs together, remember, your body paragraphs only focus on one idea, okay? Now, here's the $1 million question, and you can put it in the chat or you can just shout it out, right? If our paragraphs are unified around one idea, where is that idea?
Say that again.
If we unify our paragraphs around one idea each, where do we put the one idea? The topic of the paragraph.
In your thesis
The
statement?
intro.
Where do we put the topic of our paragraph?
In your thesis?
That's the topic of the paper. So, Matt, if I'm writing this paper, my thesis would be students, or no, personal finance should be a mandatory class in high school, right? That's the thesis of the entire paper, right?
That's
So
the
my body
introduction,
paragraphs,
right?
say it again.
That's the introduction, right?
That would be in my introduction, yes. So if I'm talking about body paragraphs, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I organize my body paragraphs? Like, where do I put my main idea of
Okay,
the paragraph?
so to answer your question, Mr. Norwood, so what I usually do when like I have like ideas, I usually just write them. I just usually just like put them all in my introduction, like organize them as my first idea, second idea, and third idea, and then my second paragraph will be talking about my first idea. The third paragraph will talk about the second idea, and then the fourth paragraph will talk about the third idea.
Absolutely.
That's a good
That's a
technique.
great way to stay organized. All right. And then Matthew, or Matt, to go even further with that, that's going to keep your paragraphs unified, because if you're saying like, okay, this is what this body paragraph is going to be about, like you already have that blueprint, then you can tell yourself, well, I'm only going to discuss this idea in this paragraph, meaning I'm only going to discuss why learning about the importance of credit is should be mandatory in this body paragraph, right? So your body paragraphs, you're only addressing one idea, and that one idea is in our topic sentence, right? First sentence of every body paragraph is a topic sentence. And it just says to the reader, hey, here's what this paragraph is going to be about. And it says to you as a writer, hey, here's what I have to talk about in this paragraph, and only this. All right. Only this one idea. Do you have other reasons why, high school students should, have to take personal finance? Yes. Right. But those ideas are going to be in different body paragraphs. So one idea per paragraph. And that's how you keep your paragraphs unified. Meaning, like, if you start off talking about, the importance of learning about credit, don't address other issues in that paragraph. Save them for the body or other body paragraphs. Right. So one idea per paragraph.
Is in the body paragraph, is the main idea breaking down a topic sentence?
The main idea is the topic sentence. Yep. So the rest of
use
that
it
paragraph should be,
again?
say what?
So you use it again?
Now, so if we say, students should take personal finance because it teaches them about, credit. We'll just make it simple, right? So now that paragraph, Shamika and others, is just going to be showing, why it's important for these students to learn about credit. That's it. Okay. Our other ideas will go in other paragraphs, right? So you're only going to be addressing one idea per paragraph. So let's look at this example from our book, right? Dialysis is harsh, expensive, and worst of all, only temporary. So what did we, or better yet, what did Joanna McKay, what did Joanna just tell her readers that this paragraph will be about?
Expensive. Dialysis is harsh, expensive, and worst of all, only temporary.
That's it. That's what this paragraph is going to be about. So whatever your topic sentence is, and it's the first sentence of each body paragraph, whatever that is, you're kind of locked into that idea for that paragraph.
Oh.
Yep. So, and I tell folks, like, when you're writing a body paragraph, imagine that your topic sentence is like an invisible fence, right? And you can't go outside of, whatever you talked about. Okay. Like this paragraph, it says expensive, Harsh, expensive, worst of all, only temporary. Okay, but you know, if you're you have a person with dialysis in your family, sometimes it can affect other family members because you have to get them to you have to provide that aftercare, you have to get them to their appointments and everything like that. So that shouldn't be in this paragraph though. It could be in the next paragraph, right? Dialysis can also affect other family members, right? But that wouldn't be in this paragraph because harsh, expensive, worst of all, only temporary. That's the topic sentence. That's the idea we have to stick to. Okay. So
So if we
whatever
go to
the
the
topic
next
sentence,
paragraph,
say it again, Shamika.
then once you go to the next paragraph, you start a new topic
Yes.
based on your main topic,
Yes.
but then you break
Absolutely.
it down.
Absolutely. And really, it's kind of
Um,
like, look at it like this. Your thesis statement, it's the boss of your entire paper, meaning like it tells every body paragraph in your paper what to do. All right. So your topic sentences, they're the bosses of each paragraphs. They still have to serve the thesis statement, but everything in your body paragraph has to serve that topic sentence. Okay. But in the grand scheme of things, everything serves your thesis statement. All right.
Oh,
wait,
okay,
So
so
now I
you
got
know
a better
how,
concept.
say what?
which, so you know how what Matt said about he do his like 1, 2, 3 different
Hmm?
you know how what Matt said he do his ideas of 1, 2, 3, and then
Uh-huh.
right. So I do mine like that too. So can I just like restate the first thing I said in the body paragraph and then talk about it then? Can I restate the ideas that I put up top? Can I just restate that
Yes.
one?
It's,
Okay.
as long as you're only addressing one idea
Yeah.
per body paragraph, that's fine. And as long as you're also not you're restating the ideas, but you're not restating them word for word.
Oh, I know that. I was just
Yeah.
making sure I can
So
do it
no,
like that.
that's fine. And again, that's a good way to keep yourself organized. And another way to do that, if it's not in your introduction, and it's something we talked about last week when we talked about writing process, outlines. An outline is a great way of getting your entire essay together, right? So just as Matt was saying that he puts, he gets his ideas together in his introduction. If you're doing an outline, you could just have your thesis statement, and then you could just have, because I do like real informal and simple outlines when I have to do something, but mine will just be thesis statement, and then it'll be bullet points of like body paragraph points. All right. So now it's really just a matter of like fleshing out, body paragraphs. All right, when it's time to actually start drafting. Okay. Now, all right. So the long and short of that is unity just means all of your body paragraphs are centered around one idea, and you don't have any distracting sentences in your body paragraphs, meaning you don't go off on tangents, or you aren't putting information in there that's interesting to you, right? And it could just be interesting in a general sense, but what's the connection to your topic sentence? Meaning like, what's the connection to your main idea? All right. If there's no connection, when you're reading your material back to yourself, if there's no clear connection, then got to get rid of that sentence. Okay. Because again, it is only going to distract your reader from the overall point you're making. So that's part of revision, going back through your paragraphs and looking for sentences that don't belong. And it's kind of like, when you're doing math and they tell you like, hey, check your answers against, well, I always did this, looked in the back of the book for the answers. A good way to check your answers in English is look at, if you're checking like the entire paper, look at each body paragraph and ask yourself, okay, is the connection to my thesis statement clear? All right. And then when you're looking at it by paragraph, look at each sentence Is there a clear connection to my topic sentence? Okay. Is there a clear connection to my topic sentence? And now here's how you have to get deeper with that question. Is the connection clear to my audience? Because most of what we write is clear to us in our own heads, all right? But will this be clear to my audience? Okay? And that's what we have to focus on. A lot of times, you know, we spend time trying to make our writing fancy or trying to use all these words, these big words and everything, but good writing is clear. All right, so you've proofread your work or you've revised your work for clarity, okay? Make it plain, okay? Get your point across, all right? Now, sticking to the main point, I'm gonna start speeding up a little bit, all right? Because there's an assignment I want us to get to, or I want to go through with you all. This one, sometimes you'll get papers from me and you'll see this in your paragraphs, and there may be a comment, you know, next to whatever the strikeout is. And really, it's just saying, you know, sometimes the comment will be, you know, this sentence is a bit of a distraction in this paragraph, or sometimes the comment will be, this is a good idea, but, you know, perhaps it can be in a new paragraph. All right, because it doesn't really connects to the overall idea of the paper, but not necessarily this paragraph. All right, so, you know, bear that in mind again when you're going back over your own material. All right, which we should be doing. Go back over your own material. All right, now I'm just going to skip over development really quickly, and we'll come back to that. But I'm skipping over it because some of this won't really apply to the paper that we're about to write. All right, except there's one or two: descriptive language. All right, when we talk about development. Okay. Again, we're just asking ourselves, what does our reader need to know? What does our reader need to know about the importance of, you know, credit? Okay. How can we justify teaching about credit in high school? That's what that paragraph is going to be about. That's what we mean by development. What does my reader need to know? Okay. So, and even on some of the responses, some of the feedback was, you know, practice developing your ideas. Meaning like you had to start, right? But go further, you know, explain, right? Explain what you mean. And then with the essay that we're going to write, you know, which is a personal narrative, we can explain ourselves or we can develop our paragraphs by using descriptive language, okay? Really just language that evokes the senses. Okay, so instead of saying, you know, it was a hot day outside, it was a sticky day outside. Okay, that has more meaning, you know, to your reader. That way they can feel it or they can picture it. And that's what we do with descriptive language.
Yes, I can definitely picture a day when you walk outside and you're instantly covered in sticky syrup.
Oh, gross, right?
But that might not have been the best one. Hot doesn't necessarily mean sticky. Just because it's hot doesn't mean it's humid.
And that's the thing though, Matthew, I think your description was good because you show your reader what you mean when you say hot, right? But if you say it's hot outside, that can mean different things to different people. Like Michigan, right? You know, if it gets past 60, we may consider that hot. Florida though, you know, 60 degrees,
That's cold.
Yeah, long sleeves and everything. So, you know, this is kind of off subject, but I remember a couple of years ago, it snowed in Atlanta, just like a light dusting. And, you know, people were like abandoning their cars on the road, like it was the snow apocalypse or something. I'm like, man, it's a coating. All right. But, one of the, I was reading a paper and the student was just describing this bad day that she was having, and one of the descriptions really stood out to me. It was just about getting out of her car, stepping into this puddle of cold water, right? And she had this description of like having just that feeling of having wet socks, right? Which to me is like I really do not like the feeling of wet socks. And
Does anybody?
Say what?
Does anybody?
No. But the way she described it was like I really felt like my socks were wet as I was reading it. So, and another one I remember is a student was describing just going to the carnival as a kid, like this really memorable experience of going to the carnival. This student did a great job of like capturing all the smells you would encounter at a carnival, right? So descriptive language is a great way in narratives to, you know, develop your paragraph. So don't just say it was a hot day. Okay, try to show your reader how hot it was. All right, but here's the caveat to all that. Sometimes when you're writing, a tree is just a tree, right? So the way you distinguish between something that needs to be described vividly or taking the tree is just a tree approach, the way you differentiate is think about what's relevant to what you're discussing. All right. Sometimes you're just putting things in a narrative to keep your narrative moving, but then there's sometimes you want to show emphasis to. All right. So that's a judgment call, you know, for you all. So development just means, you know, what does my reader need to know? Or when you're writing a narrative, how can I put my reader in my shoes as best you can? Okay. So think about that. All right. Now, this is the last thing, coherence. Okay, and then I'll drop the assignment on you and let you guys go. All right. Now, coherence. Really, another word for coherence is flow. And I think I may have already put that on a few papers. You know, practice strategies for paragraph coherence. That just means flow, right? You could have a unified paragraph, but that's not really coherent because it doesn't flow together and the connection between your ideas may not be clear. All right. And flow is also readability. Okay. It's like you have good points, but you know, the reading of it is a bit awkward. Okay. Repetition, right? Not that long ago, blogs were one of those annoying buzzwords that you could safely get away with ignoring. The word blog, it works as both a verb and a noun. All right. Now, here's what I see a lot in papers. They'll have this first sentence, not that long ago, blogs were one of those annoying buzzwords that you could safely get away with ignoring. And then what would come next is it works as both a noun and a verb, instead of saying the word blog, just to kind of reinforce, you know, what you're talking about. Okay. One of my old professors back in the day used to talk to me about like the rhythm of writing. All right. And it's just something that you develop like the more you write. And Matthew, you opened by saying, you know, you developed your own style, and it just comes from this practice. You know, the more you do, the more natural it's going to feel. So repetition is one way. There's some other strategies in here, but I want to get down to the most, really the most common strategy of achieving coherence. Transitions. And transitions are just that, just how they sound. They help you go from this point to that point, or they connect your ideas. I've had students in the past that even they call them transitions word glue. Okay, word glue.
100
They really do
800.
glue your ideas together. All right. And if you see
100 divided by 800.
Get that math out of here. Okay. All right. Yeah, man. No math. Man. I kind of look at math the way a lot of people look at English now. Is just it's something I had to take, and I just kind of gritted my teeth and had to bear with it. But it certainly was not my strong suit as a student. Okay.
Yeah,
Especially
I'm gonna agree with you there.
Yeah, when math stopped using numbers and they started using all those funny signs and letters and stuff. Like, come on, man.
I'm fine up until they add more than A, B, C, X. Like after X is added, I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Right now, math for me is just budgeting.
Like, I can do it,
like,
but I
here's
can't
how much money I have. Here's how many bills I have.
Right.
Right. And
I mean, that's all that's needed.
over.
I have a phone.
Yeah.
I need to do something more advanced. I Google it.
There you go. There you go. But one of the here's what the good thing about, well, math is good. I can't lie. It's just it was never my strong suit. But math is all about critical thinking. All right. But
Yeah.
nowadays, man, they have that new math in high school and in schools. I can't even help my daughter with her math.
Right.
It's like it's let me give you the number to this tutor. All right. Now, these transitions, when you're using a transition, just make sure you're using one that shows the relationship that you want to show.
700 times 0.82.
Okay, get that math out of here, man. Or mute yourself when you do your math. It's hurting my ears. Okay, it's giving me flashbacks.
Oh crap! Sorry.
Yeah, it's giving me flashbacks of like Mr. Richards' class in high school when I had to take his class 3 times.
I am actually doing my math homework right now.
Don't do it. Don't do math. All right. Now, use the right tool for the job when you're using transitions. Meaning, make sure you're using a transition to show the relationship that you want to show. And I say that because sometimes folks will they'll use transitions, but sometimes they get one that they like and they only use that one. They use it for every occasion. When it's like, just you got many tools in your toolbox. Okay, like this paragraph uses transitions that show the passage of time. Yolanda, the third of 4 girls, became a school teacher, but not on purpose. 4 years, right? Later, finally, in years. And I think, these are going to be especially relevant for us because we're going to be talking about something that happened to us. And I'll tell you what that something is, shortly. All right. So transitions are a great way to help you go from idea to idea and paragraph to paragraph, right? So here's an example. And then if we take it back to the example that we've been using about personal finance, say we wrap up our paragraph about credit. Okay. Our next paragraph could begin, in addition to learning about credit, students also need to learn about, and then we would go into our next topic. Okay. That way, all of your paragraphs are connected, throughout your paper. Even though you're addressing different topics, there's still a way to connect your paragraph. And a great strategy for that is, through the use of transitions. All right. And then just to wrap up, start a new paragraph, new idea. Okay. Also, if you want to show emphasis, there's no hard and fast rule that says, maybe you have several paragraphs about the importance of credit, right? Maybe you just want to emphasize that idea. I would just say if you have several paragraphs about the same topic, don't jump around. So if you're talking about credit, make sure all those paragraphs, follow, come one after another, and then, go to a new topic. But, sometimes, if you're writing this long paragraph, think about when you want your readers to pause. So starting a new paragraph doesn't always mean you're starting a new topic, right? Sometimes you just want to give your reader, a moment to reflect, okay? So unity, coherence, and development. Try to free yourselves from these rules we learned. Okay, 5 to 7, 4 to 6. Can you have a paragraph that's too long? Yes. Can you have a paragraph that's too short? Yes. But I think if you start looking at your paragraphs in terms of their characteristics, unity, coherence, and development, you'll be fine. Okay, you'll be fine. And then if you're nervous about, maybe my paragraph's too short, ask yourself, what can I add? If it's too long, ask yourself either what can be cut from this paragraph, or can I break this one paragraph down into multiple paragraphs? Okay. And this is all a thought process you're going to have, as you're revising. Okay. So now, all right, last things last. Gots to hit you with an assignment. Okay. Of course. All right. I'm in the wrong module. Okay. Now, if you go into this paragraphing resources module, okay, there's a couple things. Most of what's in here just reinforces the things that I was just saying. All right. Here's a nice handout about body paragraphs. Okay. As for Writing Center, I use things from them. They have this great I'll see if I can find it on my computer. If not, I'll just link you to it. But they have a great handout about pi paragraphs, point, information, explanation. All right. These are just videos. And then here's another one about transitions. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, they have a great writing center. All right. That I use this resource a lot. All right. But let me hit you off with this assignment real quick. I guess I should be in student view so I can download it. All right. I'm in teacher view right now, so I'm just going to read it off. All right. But now, my people, okay, changing directions just a little bit from summary responses. We got warmed up with critical thinking. We learned about the writing process, and we learned a little bit about paragraphing today. Now, we're about to start our first paper, or better yet, we are about to put the writing process in action, starting with pre-writing, okay? Our beliefs are an essential part of our identity. However, in our lives of constant movement and activity, we rarely get a spare moment to reflect on the ideals we hold sacred, okay? Especially now, you know, we're about movement, productivity. We don't really get the time to be still, or we don't really grant ourselves that time to be still. All right. Use this first reflection assignment to explore the beliefs of others and to articulate your own. Okay. Additionally, the music we listen to often shapes us. Okay, here's my transition right here. Additionally, the music we listen to often shapes us. Many of us have seminal songs in our lives that have impacted us in a meaningful way, i.e. coming of age music. Music can guide us and help us make sense of our world. It certainly helps me make sense of things. All right, reflect on a song that has facilitated your personal growth or one that is directly or indirectly related to your belief. Okay, that's the introduction to the assignment. Here's the assignment itself. It's in 3 parts. You're doing this all on one document though. Don't do like separate Microsoft Word or Google Docs documents for each part of this. Okay, so the first part of the thing is the first part of this assignment, you're gonna go to this website, thisibelieve.org. Okay, which is this one right here. And you're going to go into Explore, and then you want Browse by Theme. All right. Now, okay, when you go Browse by Theme, you know yourself. What are you interested in? Okay, which one of these categories are you interested in? And if you look, you know, next to each category, right, this is the number of essays that are available there. Okay, most of these essays you can listen to. All of them you can read though. You're just gonna pick one. There's an essay that I really like, and if we have time, or actually I will link you to it. But the author is Kike Aviles, and I forget the exact name of it, but it's something like I Will Take My Voice Back. And Kike, you know, he's a writer, he's a poet, you know, he's a performer, but you know, he also has this severe drug and alcohol addiction. So his essay is about how he knows he's going to die if he continues down this path, but writing is what will save him. Okay, in his own mind. So it's a really a good essay. But that's not to say, like, some of the essays are really funny. You know, some of them are lighthearted. Some of them are really touching. So find one that speaks to you. Okay, and you may have to listen to several before you settle on one. That's fine. Okay, once you have found your essay, summarize the key idea in one paragraph. Now we're back in that summary mindset. In one paragraph, you're going to summarize. Okay, so that's one paragraph. Then your follow-up paragraph, why that one? What about that one stood out to you? Like for me, the Kike Aviles essay, what stood out to me is just this dichotomy, meaning like on the one hand, you're this, and Kike, he's like a celebrated writer. You know, he's known in his community and beyond. So on the one hand, it's being this celebrated writer, but also it's about, having this other side. And he calls it, he calls himself like that side of him is like a vampire. All right. So, and also another thing another reason that essay touched me is just this notion of judgment. We tend to be like a judgmental society. If we see somebody that's struggling, with something, especially something like addiction, all right, it's just easier to judge than to understand or to show empathy. So that's really what stood out. Those two things. So one paragraph you're summarizing the essay you chose, and then the next paragraph, why that one? Okay, what about this particular one stood out to you? All right, and don't just say I like this essay. Try to college writing. You're going beyond I like this, or I didn't like this, or this was good, or this was bad. Okay, college writing, when you're in the critical thinking mindset, we're going beyond good or bad. All right. So when you say why did you like that? Why? Okay. What ideas did this essay speak to that struck a chord with you? All right. And like I was saying, for me, just this notion of dichotomy and this notion of judgment, like how we're so quick to judge. Those are the ideas that stood out to me. All right. So really think about it and try to move beyond, good or bad, or I like this, or I didn't like that, or I didn't like it. Now, you got those two paragraphs in. Okay. Now, and this is the section that will eventually transition into becoming our first essay. Okay. Now that you have read about someone else's belief, think about your own. Spend some time thinking about a principle that guides your life. Meaning, what's a core belief that you have? One of my core beliefs is, compassion. Like I try to be compassionate, really towards people and really just towards like living things in general. All right. So when I say a core belief, think about, don't just, something you believe in, like I was just saying, personal finance should be taught in high school. I believe that, right? But I wouldn't say that that's, one of my core beliefs. That's something I would argue in an argument essay. So think about, when I say core belief, think about what drives your actions. Okay. Like I try to be kind to people and really just living things because, just this core belief in compassion that I have. All right. So that's what I mean when I say spend some time thinking about a principle that guides your life. Okay. Now, your belief is completely up to you. Just make sure that it's your own. Okay. And that part means when I say make sure that your own, some of us, especially if we're sort of transitioning to a new phase in our life, sometimes we're separating our beliefs from, beliefs that we're raised with, right? And, a lot of times we do hang on to the beliefs that we're raised with, but some of them will say, well, this is more of my parents' belief. And I just went along with it because I was under their roof. But now, what do I believe, right? So think about that, okay? So now that you have a clear idea of your belief, write a minimum of one paragraph about how it influences your life, okay? Minimum of one. If you want to write more, that's fine, okay? And the reason I'm giving you all these paragraph requirements is we're just putting into practice, some of what we just learned. Now, as the final part of this assignment, choose a song related to your belief. The song doesn't have to be about your belief, okay? Like the words in the song, they may not even, be connected to your belief in that way, right? Sometimes a song could just convey a feeling, that is related to your belief. Like, this is the song my grandma used to play, all the time, when I experienced this formative, thing in my life. Okay. So also your song doesn't have to have words. Okay. Could be just some instrumental piece. One of my favorite artists, John Coltrane, right? Famous, saxophone player. But his music, it just without words, it's really good at conveying like mood, right? And I know there's many songs or many types of music. What type of music, the genre of music, I don't care. That's up to you. Whatever you're into. All right. And I do listen to all the songs, not to check up on you all, but I just like music. So I try to listen. Anytime I can experience some new music, I always take advantage of that. But also for this part, don't just pick your favorite song, even if it's your favorite, especially if it's your favorite song like right now. All right, really pick a song that has meaning to you. All right. The connection to your belief could be through words or a feeling that your chosen song conveys. Write a paragraph explaining why you chose your song and how it relates to your belief. Okay. So this assignment is a minimum of 4 paragraphs, right? 1 paragraph summarizing the essay you chose on thisibelieve.org. 1 paragraph explaining why you chose that one. 1 paragraph about one of your core beliefs, and then a paragraph about a song related to your belief. Okay. Can you go beyond 4 paragraphs for this thing? Of course. All
Wait,
right.
can you repeat that step process again, just so I can make sure I got it?
What you need me to repeat? To me?
Just the last thing you just said. The 4.
Oh, okay.
Paragraphs.
The first 2 paragraphs. One of them is a paragraph summarizing the essay you chose on This I Believe, the website that I just showed you all, and it's also right here. All right.
You said the first 2 paragraphs?
Say what? Yep, your first 2 paragraphs. One of those is summarizing the essay you chose, and the other is why you chose that one, right? What about this one spoke to you? Okay. Then the next paragraph, which will be our 3rd paragraph, is a paragraph about your own belief. What's one of your core beliefs that guides your life? Okay. And then the final paragraph is, paragraph about the song you chose. Okay. So again, a minimum of 4 paragraphs for this assignment, but you can go beyond 4 if you need to. All right. And again, folks, this part of this assignment, this is what is going to become, if you can see my mouse, moving around here, this is what is going to become our first multi-draft essay. So in a sense, we are going to do our own This I Believe website. Okay. And the essays on this website, they're written by celebrities, elected officials, but most of them are written just by everyday folks. Right. And the ages, high school students, all the way to, senior citizens. So there's a good range of life experience on this website, right? So that's the assignment, the reflection. Okay, and here's the due date. 1 week from today, slide that thing in the assignment folder. Make sure you're using the proper assignment folder for it as well.
Mr. Norwood?
Yep.
Can you show us, like, on D2L where you can see the percentage for turn it in? Because I can't find it.
Okay. I don't know if I can show you yours without showing everyone's. Let me here's what I can do for you, Matt. I can just make a short video for you and just cross out a few things so I don't put anybody else out there. Let me see if I can switch to student view. Actually, Matt, if you can hang around a few minutes after we dismiss, I can show you, because I can just switch to student view and show you where it is.
That's not a problem.
This is from the other Matt. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to ask you something real quick. So could I hang around a few minutes after as well?
Fine. Yep. And that's we're about to dismiss, but if you do have questions, I'm about to stop the recording, but if you do have questions, just stick around for a second. All right, now I'll get you.
What's the title of this essay going to be called when we post it?
You mean, what are you titling it, or what's it called in the assignment folder?
Both, I guess.
Oh,
both.
You can call it whatever you want. All right.
Okay.
You can call it narrative essay reflection, or you can come up with your own title. And then in the assignment folder, okay. Ignore all these folders. I got like a million folders. I've been trying to get rid of them, but I only have a few visible for you all. But this one, if I recall correctly, I'm getting kind of hazy these days. But oh yes, it is called. It's right here. narrative essay reflection. So use this assignment folder.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yep. Just throw it in there. All right. And now that I'm looking at my options, Matt, I don't know
Which one?
if your percentage is visible for your summary response assignment, because I see the icon here that I did not make that. So I will change that. But again, I will still show you how to view yours, Matt. All right. Any
I'm
other
wondering, like,
questions?
if you don't see the technician score, does it mean it wasn't graded
No,
yet?
it just means that I didn't configure. Like if you see this little thing, I don't know if that's binoculars or in a piece of paper or whatever.
It should be binoculars and a piece of paper.
Yeah, if you see this thing, that means your assignment folder is configured. Maybe I didn't configure this because I knew you all would be summarizing an article, and that.
See, I don't. Yeah, I don't have it either. I have.
Yeah, I just that was my mistake because I can see it on my end.
I have a series of grade bars that tells me the class average for the assignment.
That's not good. Okay, well,
it doesn't tell me who got what. It's literally just a bar graph showing the class average for
that's a little too.
The class average for summary response for the first essay was 91.2.
That's about right.
And that only a couple of people got below 75, and most people got above.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't give me personal information. It just gives me a benchmark.
That's cool. All right.
I set my assignment in the wrong folder, and you sent me an email, so I corrected.
Yeah, just put it in the right one. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So, and that's you know what? This folder is the one with the turn it in, but the one I actually associated with the assignment doesn't have it. But from here on out, your assignment, you will be able to see your percentage. And I think I can do it retroactively. All right, so I'll go back and look at your newest summary response. All right, in this folder. The one that was due today, I can still change that, and you guys should be able to see your percentage. All right. If you use this folder, never mind. I'll address it, but that's why I only have a few folders active, at a time. All right. Any other questions?
You still want me to stick around?
Who said that? Matt K. No, you're good. You're good because you will be able to see it on your next. It should be like right there once I set the folder up.
All right.
No,
Can you give a few more examples of, like you said, your core belief is compassion? Can you give like a couple more examples?
Kindness. Oh, in the past, equality, right? Some people, their core belief is equality. Some is really specific when it comes to equality, like equality for women, equality for quote unquote minorities. So it's, or some it'll be a spiritual belief, right? That's what guides their life. Or, some of them will be like a humanistic belief, meaning like they don't have, a spiritual belief, but, they still have like this code of ethics, they believe in. So think about, what influences you when you have to make, I guess, like the big decisions in life?
Is nobody's perfect like a belief?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think, Matt, we have to apply that to ourselves as well, right? Sometimes and this is kind of off topic, but we kind of put that pressure. We say nobody's perfect, but then we expect ourselves to be perfect. You get what I'm saying? Or we say everyone makes mistakes, but we beat ourselves up when we make a mistake, right? So, and I'm not trying to like influence your paper, Matt, but I think that's something to keep in mind. Like when we say things like, nobody's perfect, it also applies to us. Okay. That's a good belief. Everybody's perfect. Everybody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we should be accepting of our own mistakes. Okay.
Or another belief could be everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And we just have to be listening, or we have to be aware enough to take the lesson, from these experiences we have. Okay. Everything happens for a reason. Nobody's perfect. Best love is self-love, or, love should begin, from within, right? Things like that. Okay. I like that. Everything happens for a reason. Nobody's perfect. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay. Sometimes the core belief could be one of the most interesting ones I read of these last semester was this was just a belief in what was it? I think it was about just balancing technology use. But it kind of went deeper into just this notion of like constant distraction, right? Because if we're constantly distracted, or if we're on our phones constantly, where is the time for reflection? So it was about, just policing ourselves when it comes to technology. But what it was really about was allowing ourselves this space for reflection, and really just giving our minds this freedom to wander. All right. So really think about that. And in some ways, I want you to struggle with this assignment. And when I say struggle, I really want you to, take some time to think about, well, who am I? Right? What are my beliefs? Okay. Take that time. Right? Writing
For the
does.
song one, for the fourth paragraph, that's the song we choose, and we're supposed to say why we chose the song.
What's the connection to your belief? And like I said, the song doesn't have to be about the belief, right? The song could just be, this song reminds me, of when I learned this great lesson. Okay. So the song could be about the belief, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about the belief. Right? Could be a song where you just really like what they're saying. That's cool.
So the core belief?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So everything's connected. Right? That's another one of my core beliefs too. Like everything's connected. Right? But it's really it's tied into like compassion and kindness, because
One more question, Mr. Norwood. I'm sorry.
don't apologize, man. You can get as many as you want.
The summary for the article, do you still want the rules still apply for how we did it for the summary response paper, correct?
Yep. Just keep it shorter though, because I only want a paragraph for this one, and you aren't going to be able to get everything into a paragraph. As long as you illustrate like the core ideas, definitely title author should be in your summary, and try to capture this author's belief. But other than that, that's cool, Matt. And then what I really want this essay to be about is, you either writing about your own beliefs or going through this process of discovery, for your belief. All right. Other final questions? We went a little bit over, so you guys owe me 5 minutes worth of money.
No, I'm good.
Let me get back to you when I calculate that. All right. I'm about to stop recording, but if you had an additional question, you can hang out. I actually do have a meeting, or actually have another class that begins in a little bit, but I have a little bit more time. All right. If you just want to just stick around and